the dark side of history's most celebrated heroes. They were honored as the guardians of humanity, celebrated as the saviors of nations, immortalized in stone and story. But history is never pure. Behind the shining masks of greatness lies a shadow, a darker side that history often buries. Tonight, we step into that shadow. These are the hidden truths, the dark sides of history's most celebrated heroes. Chapter 1. Mahatma Gandhi, the Saint with Shadows. He is remembered as the peaceful warrior, the father of India's independence, the man who brought down an empire without raising a sword. But beneath this image, Gandhi's life hides troubling shadows. In his early years in South Africa, Gandhi wrote derogatory remarks about Africans, describing them as inferior and unclean. His letters reveal views that clash sharply with the image of a man who stood for equality. And his personal experiments shocked many. Gandhi often slept beside young women, including his grandniece, to test his celibacy, a practice that left those around him disturbed and uncomfortable. To millions, he was a Mahatma, a great soul. But for those who saw behind the curtain, Gandhi was also a man of troubling contradictions, whose search for purity left behind scars of doubt. Chapter 2. Winston Churchill, the lion with blood on his hands. Winston Churchill, the bulldog spirit, the iron will that stood against Nazi Germany. He is remembered as Britain's greatest leader, the man who would not bow. But the same man who saved Europe brought devastation elsewhere. In 1943, a famine raged in Bengal. Crops had failed, food was scarce, and millions were on the edge of starvation. Yet Churchill diverted supplies to stock British forces and ignored the desperate pleas for help. When asked about the famine, his cold response was chilling. Indians breed like rabbits. 3 million lives vanished in hunger while Churchill's empire stood proud. He crushed tyranny in Europe, but in the colonies, he enforced it with an iron fist. The Lion of Britain also left behind the silence of the starving. Chapter 3. Mother Teresa, the Saint of Pain. She is painted as an angel of mercy, a woman who held the hands of the dying, a saint who devoted her life to the poor. But behind the glowing image of Mother Teresa lies a troubling story. Volunteers described her homes as places of suffering, where the dying were denied proper medical care, told instead to embrace pain as a gift from God. Needles were reused, hygiene ignored, medicine scarce, yet donations poured in by the millions. Where did the money go? Investigations revealed much of it disappeared into secret church accounts. Patients begged for relief, but were given only prayers. She preached compassion, yet left behind an empire where suffering was glorified, not healed. The saint who was celebrated for kindness may have embraced cruelty in disguise. Chapter 4. Thomas Jefferson, liberty's great hypocrite. He penned the words that defined freedom. All men are created equal. He is hailed as the architect of democracy, a founding father of the United States. But behind his words, Thomas Jefferson lived a life of deep contradiction. He owned over 600 enslaved people, profiting from their labor even as he spoke of liberty. He built Monticello on the backs of those he enslaved, their toil hidden behind the glory of his vision. And among them was Sally Hemings, a woman owned by Jefferson, with whom he fathered children. But could a relationship born in bondage ever be free of coercion? The man who gave America its voice of liberty also silenced hundreds under chains. His statue stands tall, but beneath it lies the truth of hypocrisy. Chapter 5. Che Guevara, the rebel and the executioner. Che Guevara, the face of revolution, the fiery spirit against imperialism. His image is sold on posters, t-shirts, and murals worldwide. He is a symbol of defiance, a romantic hero of the oppressed. But the truth of Che is far darker. As a commander in Cuba, Che oversaw executions at La Cabana prison. Hundreds were lined up before firing squads under his watch. Eyewitnesses recalled how he personally delivered death sentences, sometimes without proper trials, sometimes with a chilling indifference. He spoke of love and freedom, yet acted with ruthless violence. To his followers, he was a liberator. To his victims, he was a merciless executioner. The legend of Che lives on in rebellion, but the blood on his hands will never wash away. Chapter 6. Martin Luther King Jr., a dreamer with shadows. He gave America its dream, a vision of equality, a voice that shook the walls of injustice. Martin Luther King Jr. is remembered as the prophet of peace, the man who lit the torch of civil rights. But even icons stumble, and King's shadow side was carefully hidden. Secret FBI recordings revealed his affairs and infidelities, moments that clashed with the image of a moral leader. The FBI even attempted to use these tapes to blackmail him into silence. Though his legacy shines bright, King too was a man torn by flaws, desire, and guilt. He preached a dream of justice but lived a life divided between public virtue and private sin. The hero of equality was still human and deeply imperfect. Chapter 7. Alexander the Great, the conqueror consumed by power. Alexander the Great is celebrated as the greatest military genius in history, a man who built an empire stretching across continents before the age of 33. But behind his brilliance was a hunger for power that left behind destruction. Cities burned in his path. Entire populations were massacred in the name of conquest. His paranoia grew with his empire. He executed close friends and trusted generals at the mere whisper of betrayal. The young visionary who united nations also left behind rivers of blood, cities in ruins, and a legacy built not just on brilliance, but on brutality. Alexander was great, but greatness often comes with a terrible price. The masks of history. Heroes inspire us. They are the names we carve into stone, the faces we print on our money, the stories we teach our children. But the truth is never as clean as the myth. For every speech of liberty, there is an act of cruelty. For every dream, a betrayal. For every saint, a shadow. Perhaps we need our heroes, not because they are perfect, but because they are human, flawed, broken, and complex. Yet, in our search for greatness, we must never forget the shadows they carried. Because history does not belong only to the light. It belongs to the dark as well.